So I never get to use these cards. I love this deck. I'm going to use several decks as a matter of fact, but this first one here, let me show you. It's called the United States of Tarot, created by Elena Lee McCoon. Underneath this video, I will put a link to a video where I show this entire deck. I reviewed the whole deck. I showed every single card. So underneath this video, I will put that so you guys can check it out. But basically, this is a deck of the political environment of the United States. Because a couple people asked me if I would take a look at the Trump quote-unquote assassination attempt. There are a lot of people who thinks it truly was. Some people think that it was a hoax. You know, some people think that it was staged by one or the other party. It's a lot of theories out there, and if you just type in conspiracy theory, Trump assassination, you'll see all of these theories. So today we're going to take a look at it and see what really happened. Okay, my name is QueenAusetHeru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to anyone or everyone who might like it too. Please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And if you want to get your own personal private reading done, please email me or hit me up on social media. Underneath this video, you will first find the review of the deck, the entire deck. Then you will see all of the cards that I'm going to use for this particular reading. Then you will see my personal information. So there's also some resources under there for you. Feel free to hit me up. And there's also my Patreon and some other things under there that might interest you as well. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Now, politics is wild. I don't care what time period it is. I don't care what country it is. Most of the time, there are times of peace, but most of the time, politics are wild. And the United States is no stranger to the drama. I'm telling you right now. What I'm getting ready to show you is the tea. It is the drama. And it cracked me up as I was pulling the cards. Certain parts are not funny. But certain parts I found to be very funny as I was pulling the cards. You're getting ready to see why I said that. So this first part is Donald Trump. First, I wanted to know, what does he think happened? You know, why does he think this happened? Who does he think did this? What does he think is the deal himself? Because you know he has, you know, thoughts about everything. So let's take a look. The first card here, Donald, look at this. This is what Donald thinks about that situation. So this indicates to us that he absolutely was not someone who would have been in on this. Okay? Look at this. This is terror. This is fear. This is anger. Look at that. So he really does believe that someone was trying to take him out of here. That's what he believes. He believes that somebody tried to literally end his political career by ending him. So that means that if he is that fearful, and I believe this too, because when this first happened, I thought to myself, okay, he staged this for publicity. That's the first thing that came to my head. You know, as a person who has seen enough conspiracy theories come to light, I was like, yeah, he just, you know, he staged this. And then the other day, I heard him talking, and I picked up on fear. And I was like, he wouldn't be fearful if he was in on this. So this was someone else that did this, and he did not know. So that's what we're getting from the first card. Who does he blame for this? The Democrats. My boy, y'all know I got a crush on Obama. Him and Joe. They had the cutest little friendship. I used to love watching them make friendship bracelets. I love their propaganda. It was so sweet. It really was. But anyway, he thinks the Democrats did it. I don't, that's not strange to me. If you have a political enemy, of course you're going to think your political enemy is the one that did it. period. Whether or not he's right, we're going to find out in the next spread. But that makes sense to me. I would not think so, but I can see why he would think so. And what does he think will be the outcome? He thinks that somebody on the Democrat side, not Bernie Sanders, because if you look at this is Bernie. Isn't that cute? I thought that was so funny. Bernie is the hermit. Oh, excuse me. There we go. But it's reversed. So he thinks that somebody on the Democratic side is going to come out telling what actually happened. He thinks that someone is going to spill the tea. That's what he thinks is going to happen. And then he's going to be justified. Like, see, I told you. I told you it was them. So that's what he thinks is going to happen. Okay. Now, this I found to be hysterical. He is comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln. Now, because they both held the same title, that makes sense. But Abraham Lincoln was known as Honest Abe. I don't think 400 years from now they're going to be calling him Honest Donald. So I don't think this is a fair comparison, except for the fact that they both were presidents and they both were Republicans. That's the only thing I can really say is a commonality between the two of them. But for him, he's comparing himself to Lincoln and painting himself as this tragic figure that is trying to bring together a divided country. So more propaganda. Both sides use propaganda, and the Republican side often says we are the party of Lincoln. They're trying to invoke those feelings of patriarchy and pride in the legacy of Lincoln. And it's like, whatever. It's like, whatever. So this is how he sees himself, as this great martyr. You guys know the drama that Trump be going through. This is the drama that's going on in his head. Now, this last card really surprised me because he also thinks there was someone else involved. Melania. Now, when I saw that card, I almost fainted. He thinks his own wife was involved in this coup d'etat, as he would probably see it as. Look at her arm, right? He thinks she should go to jail. Look at that. For her involvement in this attempt against him. So Trump, in his mind, he may never say this out loud. Mind you, we're reading cards to see what he's thinking and feeling. Thinks that his wife and the Democrat National Party are responsible for the attempt. And he is just this sympathetic character who didn't deserve it. Okay? That's his drama. When I saw that last card, I was like, wow. And I'm not saying that could never happen. I'm just saying on one hand, I will give you one thing. My mother is a retired cop, and she said that when somebody is harmed, their spouse is always the first suspect. So that part of it makes sense to me. But the rest of it sounds like somebody is paranoid to me. Now, the guy that killed him, the Secret Service killed the guy that shot at him, is not with us anymore. Okay, he is deceased. The Secret Service took him out of here. So his last name is Crooks, Thomas Crooks. So I asked the cards, why did Thomas Crooks do this? I want to see, is it true? Like, is he, some type of government plant sent to assassinate, the president? Like, what really happened? And it said to me, actually, no, which I thought was interesting because I thought it was going to be some great drama to this, but it's really not. Look at this card here, 10 of Pentacles. Thomas thought that Donald Trump was someone who got where he got because of his family. Now, this is the 10 of Pentacles, right? Interesting that the 10 of Pentacles is represented by the Kennedys. So, Trump, of course, is not a Kennedy, but reversed, he comes from I think his father gave him like $1 billion to start up or something. So he comes from money. And this card is giving us the indication that it may not have been clean money. 10 of Pentacles reversed. So Crooks felt as though Trump was a crook that came from a line of crooks. He got some money to go out there and be a crook. Basically, he feels like, he didn't work for it. He just, he just got it being a crook. Okay. And this is not a unusual thing to hear. You hear this on the news all the time. People have said this a million times. So he clearly, this Crooks was clearly listening to the news. He was reading. He was pretty much learning about Trump all the way back. And it could be other political figures too, but while we see Trump here, and he had a dislike for him. He thought that Temperance card is about somebody who will destroy. Check this out. Beautiful card. The Temperance card. Our Temperance card comes up reversed. So he saw Trump as someone who would destroy the United States. And I get it. A lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the things that the Trump camp has said, in my opinion, have been detrimental. And a lot of people's opinion have been detrimental to the United States. There's been, in my opinion, I must be very honest with you, I see a lot more bigotry from people in the States than I saw before he started to run. And this is what Crooks thought. He thought that he was going to bring more hardships to the United States. And he thought that his actions were justified because of that. Now, this is where I draw the line. Because I think it's okay to have a political opponent. I think it's okay to, be against your political opponent. That's the name of the game. But I don't think it's okay to harm your political opponent in such a way. I mean, go register people to vote. Start up a club or something of people who, send letters to their congressmen. Start some type of political club at your job or your school. My thing is that there are legal ways to fight against a politician or a party that you're not feeling. If you think a particular party or a particular politician is detrimental, there's lots of ways to legally fight against them. But to take action in your hands like this is not the way. And I've seen this all over the world. This is not the first time this has happened. These types of attempts have happened, and some of them, unfortunately, were successful. So my thing is that, I understand disliking Trump. I don't like Trump. But to take it to this space shows us that this young man was really sick. To take it to this space. To dislike him, to work against him, to get people registered to vote in the Democratic Party. I mean, there's so many ways that you can legally, work against a politician. But unfortunately, Mr. Crooks did not comprehend that. So instead, he made a plan. Now, this right here is where this becomes problematic. We all know that Crooks got shot and is no longer with us. But Crooks did not act alone. This is giving us the vibration that he was planning with another person or persons. The Two of Wands is always about planning. But there's always more than one person. And we're going to see more about this in the other cards. So this is something I find to be problematic. Because this means there are others involved. The Seven of Pentacles is reversed here. So they made up their little plan. They executed their plan. And luckily for Donald Trump, very luckily for Donald Trump, they missed. Because this would be a very, very different conversation otherwise. Like I said, I don't condone violence. Violence is never the answer. The only time that violence, I truly believe, is the answer is when it's self-defense. If somebody attacks you and you have to defend yourself, that's, in my opinion, fine. But if you take it upon yourself to harm another person because you don't like their politics or their culture or their color or their gender, that's not right. And that's what we see here. So no, I don't see this as being, plot between Melania and the Democrats. But I do see there was more than one person involved. So let's take a look at that. So who was involved? I get the feeling that it was a woman. And I don't think it was just that woman. Because this first card here is given the energy that there was a woman who helped him to plan this. Check this out. They were not lovers per se. They could have, they could have messed around, but it wasn't like it was like a wife or something like that. It was somebody that was more of a soulmate, somebody who shared an equal vision, values, goals, dislike or hatred, which is really bad to bond over. But somebody who felt the same way about these political issues. And him and that person planned this whole thing out. But there was a power struggle between those two people. If you look right here, they didn't quite see eye to eye. They had, shared ideas and a shared vision about how to execute it and things like that, what alliances to make, stuff like that they did not agree on. Here. See? They agreed that Trump, and he's right there in the picture, they agreed intellectually. The Hierophant is about logic and the intellect. That logically Trump was going to be a bad idea and he was going to cause problems for the country, which they're very much allowed to think. But the issue we have here is that they then plotted and schemed to harm him. That's where they took it too far. They should have got together and plotted and schemed to maybe, do something politically. Maybe you can do all the plots and the schemes you want around a business table, when you're talking about something that's legal, they could have done that. They could have done all kinds of different things, but instead they decided to do this. So I do not see the Democrats. I see these two people that were involved. But let me show you this. Those two people were also involved. Let me put these up here. I have 5. Okay. So those two people were also involved in the greater network. You see this right here? So it's telling us that those two people did this together. They planned it together. He was the one that executed the actual physical aspect. The other person was the brains behind it, may have even been a lookout, and is probably nowhere to be found at this point. And we may hear more about that later because this is an ongoing investigation. But they were connected to a network. So it's not just the two of them. They were connected to like maybe message boards or other people that are empathetic to them, other people that think the way that they do. Again, there are a lot of these kinds of people online. If you look at a lot of message boards, you'll see people talking about how dangerous Trump's presidency was and could be, the rhetoric, Project 2025, people arguing. I mean, you see it all. So they could really technically be anybody. The difference with these people is they're open to committing crimes. It's one thing to do it legally. It's another thing to commit crimes. So there's other people out here that think like crooks that are open to committing crimes. Now, crooks got the version card, which is very interesting to me because this is telling me Crooks was not that bright. Crooks really believed in his mind the things that he was saying. Very similar to Donald Trump. Donald Trump believes in his mind a lot of things that he says, and some things I think he doesn't. But Crooks believed in his mind that this was a dangerous situation, this was a dangerous person, and that something had to be done. And again, this is something that many of us are like, okay, I feel you, but this wasn't it. Okay? And the last card before I flip them is the Advocate. So the people that he was networking with definitely inspired him to action because he had these ideas, he had these goals, he's networking with these people, they're inspiring him to action. So we can't blame these people for his actions per se, but we can say that these people supported his actions. Maybe they didn't know exactly what he was going to do, but they knew that he was definitely dangerous. And some of those people might have even known parts of the plan, because remember, there was a plan in place. Crooks took it upon himself to be judge, jury, and executioner. And this is not, we can't do this. We can't do this. We can't go plucking off political candidates whenever we think that they're, dangerous. We got to do this in other ways. This happens in other countries. I'm telling you, I've heard stories about this from other countries, and it doesn't end well. It doesn't end with a peaceful environment. It doesn't end good. It usually ends in like different kinds of wars, civil wars, coup d'etats, unstable governments. This is not what the United States wants to do. We don't want to go in that direction. I understand that he thought that he was doing the right thing as far as combating the energy that he thought was negative for the country. But we can't go about doing it this way. A person could not be judge, jury, and executioner. This is not the way to do things. And like I said before, I've seen this in other countries, and it's a bad thing. Lastly, there was some type of issue. He got the shadow. All the other cards were in an upright. This one came in the shadow. So there was a problem with his parents too. So there was some kind of issue, it says here, with either his mother or whoever his nurturer. The mother energy is the nurturer. So sometimes, in most families, the nurturer is the mother. But sometimes it's a grandmother, it's an auntie, it's a father even. Sometimes it's another person. So whoever was his nurturer was smothering and abandoning. And there was a lot of guilt seen around him wanting to be independent. So there was some, there was some mommy or daddy issues going on the inside as well. Very naive energy. And I feel like, a person like this is really dangerous because this kind of person really is off. I don't even know how to put it. It's like this person is off. Where do you see this? You're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Thomas thought that this was his destiny. That it was his destiny. This was the mark that he was going to leave on the world. That he had saved the world from this evil. And that's where the whole thing breaks down. He thought it was going to be a momentous achievement, and that he was going to be forever remembered. He was going to be infamous for the rest of time. Now, this is true, but this is not how you want to become infinite. You want to become timeless because you were like Joan of Arc, Jesus Christ, Buddha. You want to become infinite because you did things that helped people, or at least tried to help people. You led a movement like Marcus Mosiah Garvey. You want to be known for things along those lines. You don't want to be known because you did something like this. And he did not see a difference between the two things. When somebody is mentally off, they don't always see the difference between positive and negative reinforcement. He was perfectly fine with this being his legacy. And him, feeling like he was at that point crowned king. So we got a very diseased mind. Very childish. Remember they said that virgin card? That virgin card is a very childish, naive kind of person. And they make really foolish mistakes. So that was the deal with the situation. Now I'm going to show you a bonus. The bonus is what's going to happen now that Joe Biden has stepped down. And we don't know what's going to happen. Kamala Harris might be running in his place. The Democrats are still trying to get it together. He just resigned like the other day when I'm doing this recording. So let's see where this is going right now. Right now we have the Nine of Wands. So the Nine of Wands is a really big battle. Both sides are anticipating some type of negativity from the other side, some type of attack from the other side. So they're both fortifying themselves, and the Democrats and the Republicans are getting ready to do battle. This is going to be quite the battle. See? Eight of Wands. So they're both going to try to be successful. They're both going to try to, take control. Remember, I often compare American politics in general, to Game of Thrones. So Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, so in that Ace of Wands card, you have both sides trying to claim the Iron Throne, basically. They're both going to be trying to fight each other for power. And the Eight of Wands is reversed, and this means it's going to be a lot of fighting. There's going to be a lot of fighting. There's going to be a lot of paperwork. There's going to be a lot of documents. Expect, lawsuits and all kinds of stuff like that to happen. The Devil card indicates that the people, this is the interesting thing. People always ask me, whose side am I on? I'm on the people's side. We the people. Seriously. If you take a look at who's in government and who's the people, they are the 1%. And we are the 99%. So I'm with the people. And it says that a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people feel like there's a lot of corruption. And we're going to see corruption. We're going to see things happening that are really just messed up. And we already have on both sides. But I've seen a lot of it, like the frivolous lawsuits. Think about the last election, 2020, how that went. It's going to be as crazy as that is, like I said, with the lawsuits. But they are saying that eventually we get the Nine of Cups. Now, this is interesting to me because the Nine of Cups is saying that at the end of all this nonsense, at the end of all this drama, at the end of all this negativity, everything calms down. Wishes are fulfilled and people are content. So this is telling me that the people, once it's over, the majority of the people will be content with whatever whoever's inaugurated, whatever the outcome is, the people will be content with it. And we'll just be like, okay, or whatever it is. It's too early to see who the winner of the election will be. You usually, with tarot, you usually do something like that. For me, like a week before the election, maybe even 2 weeks before. But it's basically just telling us that it's going to be ugly, and at the end, the people will be content. So I'm okay with that for now. I'm okay with that for now. Right before the election, I will pull the same deck out and do more cards on it. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at a independent shooter who had an accomplice, and they were both connected to a larger network that is behind the scenes. And it looks like it was more than likely a connection that they had online. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It actually wasn't what I expected. I actually expected something a little bit more sensational. But we also don't know who that network is. Where does that network go back to? Is it just some online, group? Like, who is that network? Because a lot of these networks go back to larger networks. If you follow the chain of command, it could go a number of places. It can go to other countries. It can go to other governmental structures. You never really know in these situations. But we do know that this was something that he was encouraged and inspired to do. And we do know that this woman was there helping him. So let me know if any more information comes out about this in the comment section, because I'm dying to see what the Secret Service, I know the other day the Secret Service director quit. So I'm dying to see what else happens because of this situation. So guys, you come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.